Okay, in the time it takes to watch this, you're probably going to take about, 60 breaths? And you won't even think about a single one of them. But here's the thing, each one is an incredible journey. Today, we're going to follow the path of just one of those breaths to see the absolutely critical mission it accomplishes, from the air all around you right down to the very core of your cells. So let's kick things off with a simple action. Go on, take one deep breath in and let it all out. Now, that felt super simple, right? But what actually just happened was this complex, perfectly coordinated dance of mechanical and chemical events, all designed to pull air into your body for its big journey. And what's really wild is that your body does that whole complicated thing about 20,000 times a day, every single day. And most of the time, you're not even aware of it. It's all thanks to this brilliant autopilot system that just keeps running, making sure this whole life-sustaining process never, ever stops. Now, every single one of those 20,000 breaths, it has one vital mission: get oxygen to the trillions of cells in your body. And why do they need it so badly? Well, your cells use that oxygen to create the energy that powers literally everything you do, from thinking about your next meal to running a marathon. This whole process has a name: cellular respiration. You can basically think of it as the engine of life. Deep inside your cells, oxygen is used to burn fuel, like the sugars from your food, and that produces these tiny little energy packets called ATP. ATP is kind of like the currency your cells use to pay for everything. And just like any engine, this one has an exhaust pipe, pumping out waste. In this case, it's carbon dioxide, which your body needs to get rid of. So how in the world does that life-giving oxygen get from the air outside all the way into those cells? All right, let's trace the exact path. We're going to follow one breath from the second it enters your body all the way down to its final destination, deep in your lungs, where the real magic is about to happen. The journey kicks off in your nose, which is way more than just for smelling. It's a smart filter and a climate control system all in one. From there, the air swoops down your throat, past your voice box, and into your windpipe. This main airway then splits, and splits again, branching out into smaller and smaller passages, kind of like a tree growing upside down inside your chest. And it keeps branching until the air finally arrives at its destination, millions of tiny little air sacs called the alveoli. But hold on, before the air gets that deep, it has to get through a bunch of security checkpoints. First, your nasal hairs trap the big stuff, like dust. Then, a sticky layer of mucus catches all the smaller invaders. After that, these tiny, waving hairs called cilia are constantly sweeping all that trapped gunk up and away from your delicate lungs. And if anything still manages to sneak past, bam, a powerful cough or sneeze acts as the final bouncer, kicking the irritants out. So what's powering this whole system? Well, the engine of breathing is this huge muscle just below your lungs called the diaphragm. When you breathe in, it tightens up and pulls down, which makes more space in your chest and literally sucks air into your lungs. And when you breathe out, it just relaxes, moves back up, and gently pushes the air out. It's a really simple but incredibly powerful pump. All right, we have now reached the very end of the airway, the final stop for our little breath of air. This is it. This is where the mission is finally accomplished. Welcome to the Great Gas Exchange. Welcome to the alveoli. You've got something like 300 million of these microscopic balloon-like sacs in your lungs. These are the true workhorses of your whole respiratory system. Each one is wrapped in this dense web of tiny blood vessels, which means the air you just breathed in is now just a single cell width away from your bloodstream. It's an incredible design. And the most amazing part, this whole exchange takes zero energy. It happens because of a simple, elegant law of physics called diffusion. All that really means is that gases naturally want to move from a place where there's a lot of them to a place where there's not so much. They're always trying to find a balance. So picture this. You breathe in, and your alveoli fill up with fresh air that's packed with oxygen. At that exact same moment, your blood arrives, loaded down with carbon dioxide waste from your body. In a split second, the oxygen just naturally moves into the blood, and the carbon dioxide moves out into the alveoli. The oxygen then hitches a ride on hemoglobin inside your red blood cells. And that carbon dioxide, well, it's now ready to be booted out on your very next exhale. Simple as that. Now, to really wrap your head around the sheer scale of this whole operation, get this. If you could somehow unfold all of your alveoli and lay them flat, they would cover an area of about 70 square meters. That's roughly the size of a tennis court.
All that massive surface area perfectly folded up to fit inside your chest, making sure you can exchange gas with incredible efficiency every single breath.
Okay, so the oxygen has been picked up by the blood, but the journey isn't over yet. Nope. Now it needs to be delivered to every single nook and cranny of your body. And that waste product, carbon dioxide, has to be managed on its trip all the way back to the lungs.
This whole thing is just a fantastic team effort. Your respiratory system, it handles the pickup and drop off at the lungs. But it's your circulatory system, your heart and all your blood vessels, that acts like a superhighway, delivering that oxygen-rich blood to every tissue and then bringing the waste all the way back.
Remember that autopilot we talked about? Well, it's controlled by this tiny little spot in your brainstem. And here's the surprising part. It's not really monitoring your oxygen levels. It's constantly checking the level of carbon dioxide in your blood. If those CO2 levels start to climb, like when you're exercising, it instantly tells your diaphragm to start breathing faster and deeper to clear it out. You don't have to think about it for a second. You know, to really truly appreciate just how elegant and amazing this system is, it kind of helps to see what happens when parts of it break down. These common issues really highlight just how critical every single step of this journey is for our survival.
Yeah, this chart shows just a few of the ways things can go wrong. With something like asthma, the airways, that whole upside-down tree, they get inflamed and squeezed shut, making it tough for air to get in or out. With emphysema, the alveoli themselves get damaged, which shrinks that massive tennis court-sized surface area and just cripples the gas exchange. And with pneumonia, an infection causes fluid to fill up those little air sacs, creating a physical barrier that blocks the exchange altogether. So let's just end with this thought. Go on, take one more deep breath. Feel that? That's the feeling of a system so perfectly designed you don't even have to give it a second thought. It's a silent, automatic, and absolutely incredible journey happening inside you right now, and for the next 20,000 times today.